Folks, welcome inside the Parisi Palace, high above 2919 East Broadway. This is a special edition of the Jake Feinberg Show, coming to you live on Power Talk 1210. We are full-on extraterrestrial radio, streaming worldwide. Please go to powertalk1210.com to stream all of our live local shows, and we are happy to have you as part of the program today. Without further ado, I wanted to bring on an iconic figure in music history, Graham Nash. Welcome to the Jake Feinberg Show.
Jake, how are you doing?
It is such an honor to talk to you, my friend. I'm doing great.
Thank you. It's a sad day about Prince, isn't it?
Yeah, let's touch on that at the end. I wanted to. Well, go ahead. Get it out of your system. What's on your mind?
Well, it's just a sad day, you know. I mean, holy Toledo. We're only in April, and we've already lost so many incredible musicians. It's you know, it certainly makes you think about your own mortality. That's for sure.
Have you had bouts with your own mortality at some point, Graham?
I think you always think about your own mortality, no matter how old you are. Yes, you know, I feel very, very healthy, and I'm incredibly creative, and I'm happy in my life at 74. And I hope, you know, to be around for another, 30 years. But truth is, who knows?
Well, you don't. I mean, yeah, you've already painted on your palette for many, many years. I wanted to start by asking you. I had Sam Cutler, who was the road manager for the Grateful Dead and the Rolling Stones, on a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
He was talking about essentially the idea that I was asking about Ginsberg and Ferlinghetti and the beat poets and writers in the States, and he was talking about in England, like you could not, if you did not come from an upper class background, you could not write. And so he was very much brought up in a educated household by a mother who loved American culture. And I'm curious if you got off on the beats in the States.
Yeah, when I first came to America, I really realized that this was a place of tremendous opportunity where you do get to be able to speak your mind, even though, of course, no one has to listen. But yeah, this is an incredible country. I remember when I first came to Los Angeles, as a matter of fact, you know, in like 66 or something, I climbed up the nearest palm tree at the airport and told Allan Clarke, who was my partner in the Hollies, that I wasn't going back, that I wanted to stay. And I wanted to become an American citizen. I did, decades ago.
Did you, when you were coming of age in England, who was inspiring to you from the States, though? I mean, aside from not even the music side, not the rock and the burgeoning rock, but just who did you get off on from this country?
Well, I think people like Rosa Parks, that beautiful black woman who refused to give up a seat on the bus in Montgomery, Alabama, and almost single-handedly created the civil rights movement. Yes, people like that. People like Martin Luther King, of course. I had heroes, from Europe like Jacques Cousteau. And then we started to hear, skiffle that came to England basically by a man called Lonnie Donegan, who had come to America and learned this new kind of simple music and brought it back to England. And then, of course, early American rock and roll with Elvis and Buddy Holly and the Everly Brothers and Jerry Lee Lewis and Gene Vincent and Fats Domino and Little Richard. And, yes, what a lucky time to be alive, Jake.
Well, and it also seemed that, like you had these, everybody from your generation, I don't care if it's Cooch Korchmar or if it's Tony Williams or Ray Manzarek or Miles Davis, everybody was searching for their own individual sound. And I just was thinking about it last night, gearing up for the interview. And I wanted to ask you about a time in your career where you felt on the bandstand where you got comfortable enough to really begin to find your own individual voice, if there was a demarcation point when you were just woodshedding on a nightly basis, and that really helped you find your voice.
Yeah, what you do is the process, as far as I'm concerned, which has happened to me and a lot of my friends, is that you begin to imitate the people that you love, the people's music that you love. I mean, I made a cheap plywood guitar that I sprayed red and stood in front of a mirror, wiggling my backside trying to be Elvis. Me and Clarke, would sing, and try and be the Everly Brothers. And then you soak all that in, all that music. Then when you start to produce your own music, there's a lot of that previous stuff that you've learned in that music.
Can you give an example? Can you personalize it? Can you give an example?
Allan Clarke and I could sing together. We sang together from when we were 6 years old. We were in the school choir and we sang the Lord's Prayer, etc. And then, of course, obviously, met the Everly Brothers and had that wonderful experience. But there is no one song that I can point to where I decided that I had my voice, because I'm still searching. I do a lot of different kind of singing on my new record this past tonight. That's for sure.
You want to talk about that? I mean, I think it's inspirational for younger cats in any field. You're still searching. What did you work out and get out of your system on this most latest release record?
This basic record was born from love. In my personal life, it's a little chaotic right now. I divorced my wife, Susan, and I fell in love with Amy Grantham, who was a brilliant, beautiful artist from New York City. And my life changed drastically. I had to get all my feelings out. I had to get all my thoughts out. And Shane Fontaine, who is the second guitar player in the Crosby, Stills and Nash band, Shane and I share a bus, and we wrote 20 songs in a month and went into the studio, and he produced the record when we recorded those 20 songs in just over a week.
Wow. So would you say that this was, I mean, again, I was, you had married your second wife the year before I was born. And now you're going into your third marriage, but would you say that, or you're at least, are you getting married to this woman?
I'm seriously thinking about it for sure.
Good. If you guys enjoy spending quality time together, you should do it. I'm just based on my own experience.
Absolutely.
But would you say with grieving or anxiety and struggle, do you find your creative nature gets more acute or intense in this case?
I as an artist, I have to feel something before I try and transcribe those feelings into music or into painting or into photography. I have to feel something. But once I do that, I'm off and running. This art that I have for creating music, it's just basically a muscle that I found, when I was a young man, and worked on that muscle and made it strong and made it bigger and made it better. And that's the process.
Talking to Graham Nash here on the Jake Feinberg Show live on Power Talk 1210. Did you get involved at all with Maharishi Mahesh Yogi?
No, I did not. But I never met the man. No.
You never. So when you came here, as far as transcendental meditation, I guess what I'm trying to get at is this: I've interviewed cats like McLaughlin, and twice John McLaughlin, and plenty of other cats that they were definitely doing not just pot and psychedelics, but they were doing hard drugs, and they were trying to find ways to get off of hard drugs, and they turned towards transcendental meditation. And I'm just curious about when you came here and sort of just became ultra successful really quickly. How did you keep your ego in check? Did you have any spiritual gurus that helped even you out through meditation practice or anything else?
I'm a lucky man. I don't believe in organized religion. I understand how important religion is in many, many people's lives, and they should be grateful that they have something bigger in their lives that's bigger than them. I feel that there's an incredible energy in this entire universe. And in a way, I believe that everything is God. I think I'm a pantheist that way.
That's cool.
But I believe that there's an energy in this universe, and that's what I want to plug into as often as I can.
Can you talk more about this energy and when it really came into full view? I mean, were you aware of this?
It's been with me all my life, this energy.
So you, yeah. So
when I was a young man, I saw, after an incredible storm out of my parents' bedroom window, saw this incredible golden city in the clouds. Now, of course, I'm 7 years old, and it's not a golden city. It's just beautiful sunlight on clouds. But to me, it was a golden city. And to me, hearing the music in the street from the horses' hooves on the carts that were dragged by, because there were no cars then, and neighbors shouting and kids playing, all that kind of music, I've known that I've been a little different than most people for a long, long time.
Do you ever entertain the possibility of entering public life, public policy, public service at all? I mean, do you just express?
I have enough trouble trying to keep my life. The truth is that the job of being a president has got to be insane.
Insane.
It has to be. No wonder they go gray so quickly. It must be insane to try and control 300 million people. It's got to be insane. I wouldn't go into public office. No, I'm much more. I'm much happier being an artist.
My show is predicated on the 4 L's, so let's just go through these. In 2016, what are, in your mind, the most important nuanced qualities of leadership that you think people need to have in order to be successful?
I have a feeling we need to bring manners back. I'm seeing a decisive lack of manners in a lot of the public lately.
Can you give an example?
Yeah, opening doors for ladies, preceding them down the stairs. Silly, normal manners. People are so involved in texting and looking at that small screen, that they're missing, a great deal of the world. Manners, I think, ordinary manners. Let's start there.
Who was the best who was the best leader you worked under, if ever?
I think the best leader can inspire by example. And one of my favorite people in the world was Jacques Cousteau. He was a very obvious leader. He knew how to handle people with grace and dignity and make them feel important. Yeah, Jacques Cousteau.
When you think about your concept of love, you actually mentioned love earlier. Can you talk about how you bring love, what your concept of love is, and how you bring love to the world?
I think you have to start with yourself. I think you have to start by loving yourself. We all know our own weaknesses. We all know our own strengths. And I think if you amplify the strengths and keep the weaknesses at bay, you can move through this universe pretty quickly. Love, to me, is an open heart and open eyes, and the thrill of recognizing a fellow human being that has the same feelings that you do about the world and about people. And love, to me, is beauty, it's creation, it's the female of our species. That's what love is to me. Love is being alive. Love is being on fire.
Can you talk to the audience about a time in your career, professionally, that you were facing adversity, you were struggling, maybe in any particular form?
Yes, there is one.
And how did you overcome it? What was it, and how did you overcome it?
I guess one of the major depressions that I had in the last 20 odd years was watching my partner David Crosby sink so deeply into drugs. And the way that I dealt with that is I tried to love the man as much as I could. And I must tell you that when he walked barefoot into the FBI offices in Miami, I knew that he had chosen life over death, and I was very grateful.
How did you show love to him?
just being there for him, understanding the pain that he was going through, understand what he was trying to hide, by taking all those drugs, trying to take as many drugs as him, trying to take no drugs. I tried many ways. Mm-hmm. But once again, I said, when he walked into the FBI offices and gave himself up, he had chosen the positive over the negative.
Can you give a preview of your concert? Is it going to be acoustic or electric? Or do you have a band with you coming to Tucson? I know you're traveling a few days.
Go ahead. They'll just be me and my partner Shane Fontaine.
You and Shane. I'm going to have to get to Fontaine.
Oh yes, he's a brilliant musician, and we have done about 20 shows so far, and it's all been swimmingly good. Acoustic music. He plays acoustic and electric guitar. I play my acoustic and my electric piano there, and people are loving the simplicity of it, and I'm having a good time. And I'll be having a good time, especially when I come to Tucson.
I can't wait to see you. Give me one story about Prince before we go. I just want to hear maybe the first time you ever interacted with him.
I met him once, and it was at a rehearsal studio here in Burbank, in California. And he was with Alicia Keys. Mm. And I took the opportunity, and I don't often do this, of going to introduce myself. And I said, excuse me, Prince, I'd like to introduce myself. He said, you have absolutely no need to introduce yourself. I know exactly who you are. And I must say that made me feel pretty nice.